And so today is our annual celebration of World Labyrinth Day, which falls on the first Saturday of May, which is this coming Saturday on May 1st. You know, our own labyrinth, our Sacred Steps labyrinth here at the campus, is what I think many people consider to be one of the most sacred areas of our campus. And part of that is likely due to the fact that the labyrinth was designed and created and constructed by members of the congregation several years ago now. And I'm sure it was done with such loving care and intention behind it. It has supported untold numbers of individuals who have stepped upon the path. It has also been there to consecrate weddings. The space has held graduation ceremonies, pets have been memorialized, and prayer chapel and covenants entered into. It has been a space where spiritual truths have been revealed, wounds of all kinds have been healed, old ways of being released, divine wisdom discerned, and guidance received. I mean, my goodness, what sacred stories are contained in the energy left by all who ever set a foot upon the path of our sacred steps. Whatever the details of those stories might be, I think they would each have two common denominators in them. One of them being an element of forward movement, and the other being an element of creativity. Now, both of those things work together in any setting when we're focused on our lives and experiences we want to create in our lives. And so today we're going to use the four, I'm calling them quadrants, but the four sections in the center of a labyrinth to look at some additional qualities that can help us create the life that we want to live and to create what I'm calling an experience of artful living. Now, the word artful can be thought of in more than one way, but two very different ways that I came upon. One meaning ascribed to it is that of being cunning and sly and deceitful. And another definition that I found given to it is that of showing creativity. And so we're going with option B today. Now, if we took a moment to think about the times that we may have walked a labyrinth, I think there would be a fair number of us who would remember at least some of those walks being taken, during times of uncertainty or challenge in our lives. Perhaps just a time of questioning of one thing or another, maybe at times when we felt stuck or in a rut. And for myself, those kinds of walks were definitely times when my creativity was not operating at its peak performance. There were also times when it wasn't always easy to not get stuck in feelings of disappointment or frustration. It wasn't always easy to remain patient when there was no forward movement happening in my life. And forward movement is the calling card of the archetype that the philosopher Joseph Campbell assigned to what he called our hero, the hero in us. It's an archetype we look upon when we look at life as a hero's journey. Now, the hero is that part of us that always remains constant and steady and steadfast. It is always courageous, always brave and confident. And it's all of these things, no matter what our circumstances might be, no matter what may be going on around us. It is our authentic self. It is apart from our personalities and our character traits. It is apart from any of the drama that may come into our lives. It truly is that which keeps us moving forward. So we might even substitute the Christ presence in us when we think about the hero in us. Now, this idea to spend some time with our hero in the four quadrants of a labyrinth center arose as I was reading a totally unrelated article written by a woman whose name is Carla McClellan. She's currently a life coach, but she's a Unity minister. She has done church ministry for many years. She has been the manager of retreats down at Unity Village, our headquarters in Missouri. She has hosted, she may still host, a weekly radio program on Unity Online Radio. And I first got to know her a bit when she came and did some board training for us at my former church near Kansas City. But now she does focus a lot on her coaching program, and she often invokes the hero's journey process with her clients. And it was in her article that she was noting some qualities that we can ask our hero to come to bring forth as we go about creating our lives. And for whatever reason, I just started to envision those qualities and the questions that they may trigger in us as being ones that we could contemplate when we arrive at that center space in a labyrinth. That place with 4 distinct spaces where we often pause for a very specific and intentional time in each one after we have walked in from the outside. And it's a place where we can invite that wisdom and clarity and answers we seek to begin to, I like to say, download, become more clear for us. And so let's imagine that. Let's imagine that we have arrived at the center of the labyrinth. And on the walk leading into the center, maybe we were affirming some kind of intention for ourselves. Maybe we were seeking an intention. Maybe we were doing some work to release any blocks or resistance to our connection with, our oneness with spirit in us. Blocks unknown and blocks known, like the impatience and the frustration that I mentioned a moment or so ago. But now we have reached the center point, that point where it often is a time of contemplation and commitment. It's often a time that we just spend with spirit before we begin our walk out. And so as you envision yourself standing in the first quadrant, the quality that we're going to focus on there is self-reflection. One part of that would be to just simply rediscover the Christ presence in you, rediscover the hero in you. To know that in doing so, there is so much joy, so much fulfillment, so much satisfaction available for your life. Now, Carla suggests asking a particular question when one goes into a time of self-reflection. And the question is, would it be all right if my life got easier? Would it just be okay if life got easier? And that might make you laugh a little bit, given the likely obvious answer to that question. And yet the answer leads us right to some things that self-reflection asks of us, such as deliberately paying attention to our thoughts, to our feelings, to our emotions, to our choices, to our decisions, to our behaviors, giving ourselves compassion for mistakes made, looking for lessons learned so that we can then use them in making new decisions going forward. Being willing to see things exactly as they are and not how we think they should be. Becoming aware of any bias, becoming aware of beliefs, both our own and those of others. And perhaps most importantly, to take all of these things that we are reflecting upon and separate them from our identity and sense of self. Separate them especially from our spiritual identity and our true essence. And so perhaps the greatest gift that the first quadrant of this inner labyrinth can offer to us is the opportunity to reaffirm our own beliefs in our own sacredness, to reaffirm that we are not our thoughts, we are not our experiences. Rather, we are heroes. We are heroes. We are spiritual beings walking this human life. So then we move into the second quadrant. And the quality to embrace there is willingness. And more specifically, a willingness to be authentic. The question Carla posed around this particular quality is pretty straightforward. Am I willing to be authentic? Am I willing to be authentic? That's an important question. Because willingness itself, it implies a free choice on our part. It implies consent on our part. It implies a lack of resistance, of freedom from reluctance, and a mindset to match all of this. So standing in this space on the labyrinth, this might be the place where you begin to call into your mind the values, the qualities that mean the most to you. You can begin to focus more on why they do. Why are they so important to you? And this is where authenticity really becomes crucial. Because I can tell you, I have thought of qualities, I have thought of values that I said were important to me. And the minute I did, what did I do? I then went to thinking about how I don't have those qualities. I could never have those qualities, nurture them, foster them, bring them forth into expression. Or perhaps the qualities or the values triggered things in my past experiences that I then realized had not completely healed. As soon as I got triggered by all of that, where was I? I was out of alignment with what I truly believed. I was completely out of integrity with what I had just discerned would be my most authentic self. Now, the times that I have not been authentic to my true self were oftentimes times when I was giving a lot of my power to other people or even to other things. And it's interesting, I found that to be the case as well when I was reading a lot of blogs and articles about this idea of willingness and authenticity, and saw what some were saying are signs that you are being your authentic self. And one blog in particular was written by a woman, Jennifer Twardowski, who, like Carla, is a life coach, and she's also a teacher of the Course in Miracles. And she offered some signs, and I'm going to offer some to you, that she said you can look for in yourself as you contemplate your willingness to be authentic. She said authentic people are willing to see and acknowledge their own faults. They recognize that life experiences make their lives richer. They're able to listen to others, understanding that we are all unique. We're not always going to agree, and that's okay. She said that they express their true thoughts, their true feelings, and so forth, and they do so unapologetically. They are not out to please people. They take responsibility for their own lives. And the last thing on her list, they are connected to their inner guide. So once again, we find ourselves being guided back to our center as we stand in the center, guided back once again to our sacred self. And that's a pretty good place to be as we move into the third quadrant. And there is the quality of observation. And it's here we take a break from questioning, or asking questions, I should say. We take a break from all that and we just begin to get still. We just get still. Observation, in its simplest of terms, is slipping into a non-thinking, non-judging mode. It's the inner Switzerland in us. It's that place of neutrality, a place of witnessing without judgments, without labels, without reactions or even responses. Reverend Carla said, when we observe rather than analyze our life. And that makes a lot of sense in this third quadrant, if it's a place where we're supposed to be becoming still and present to what is. Because if we're analyzing, then we're engaging. We're engaging with whatever led us to step foot on the labyrinth in the first place. We are engaging with the very thing or things that may have been stifling our creativity and holding us back, keeping us from moving forward. However, when we observe, especially if we observe having first centered ourselves within the Christ in us, then we are only present to what is right in front of us, right in that moment. And in that moment, we can call upon our self-reflection, our willingness to be authentic, to help us discern whatever it is that's on our minds, and then act or respond from a place of wisdom. So I want to give you an exercise to help you understand what you see versus what you observe. So I'd like you to just call into your minds the church campus. Okay, just bring a picture of the church campus into your minds. And now I want you to narrow your focus. I want you to only look at one thing. And that one thing is the flight of steps that lead from the lower parking lot up to where the church building is itself. Look at those steps in your mind and just imagine the times that you've used them, times that you've gone up the stairs, down the stairs, both. How many steps are there? If you know the answer to that question, you have not only seen the steps, you have observed them as well. If you don't know the answer to that question, that's okay. Maybe the number of steps has absolutely no relevance to you whatsoever. Maybe what's most important to you, most significant to you about those steps is that they're there and they help you navigate that particular part of our canvas. The same thing holds true as we are creating our lives. The wisdom we call upon in this third quadrant will help us to discern what may begin to start coming through to us into that which is relevant to our situation at hand and what is not and can be let go. You see, we can't possibly observe closely everything that comes our way, right? So the practice of this quality of observation is one that will help us to know, help us to select that which is significant to pay closer attention to. And the more we practice that, as it is with anything, the more observation will become more of a habit, more of an unconscious thing that we do, as opposed to what may at first, seem to be a very tedious, laborious kind of task. In the past, we have spent some time in lessons and so forth exploring the practice of mindfulness. That's that practice of being present to your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings without interpretation, without judgment. And that practice can be employed here as a way to stay centered, to just observe what you're experiencing and allow that inner guide that you are connected to, that unattached spiritual discernment, to start guiding you to your next steps forward. And so there's one more quadrant to visit before we take our leave of the Labyrinth Center. And in that fourth and final space, we contemplate the quality of acceptance. And this is not blind acceptance that we just kind of throw our hands up and say, okay, something that we can sometimes employ when we're feeling defeated or when we feel that we have failed in some way, whether it's to reach a goal or stay true to an intention we have set. That's not the acceptance we're talking about. The acceptance we're talking about here is that which is born out of self-love. It is born out of appreciation. It is born out of a knowing ability to move on, to move forward with our lives. And so in this place of acceptance, you will not find self-criticism, self-blame, self-judgment, negativity, beliefs in weakness or failure, and certainly not ceding your power over to someone or something else. What you will find is one word, and that word is yes. All capital letters with an exclamation point after it. Yes. Saying yes in this space of acceptance means that you are saying it whether your life is great and your soul is soaring, as well as when you're in a place of unrest or upset, discomfort. It means that in those places of unrest or upset, you are accepting the facts that are present, but again, not the power of those facts or that situation over you. Saying yes expands the energy in your body, releasing any constrictions that may have been there before. It opens your heart so that you can see a field of endless possibilities, and it opens your eyes to see the many choices available to you. It begins to unleash the creativity within you so that you can begin moving forward with expressing the truest you that you have come here to be. Acceptance is our consent to receive something offered. It's our consent to receive something offered in our life. Life is something offered to us through the creative nature of spirit. And it's that very same creative nature that is present and available to us on any given day of each day of life that we've given. It's also the same spiritual nature that we've referenced many times now today. as being active in us as we traverse the labyrinth, no matter where we are on its path. It was interesting to me that as I was typing out those 5 points of acceptance that I just shared with you, that I found that the words were just coming very, very quickly. And as a result, my typing got faster and faster and faster. And it struck me that that very same kind of experience often happens when we begin to leave the center of a labyrinth and follow the path back out to where we first began. Very often, as we leave the center of a labyrinth, our walking is more brisk. Our heads are up, and we're usually wide-eyed, and we're looking around. We feel and we even look more relaxed and carefree. And maybe it's because we've realized once again that this life we've received is a gift, that it is precious, that it is temporary. Maybe after having spent such focused time, contemplative time with our hero, with the Christ, with God, with our highest and truest of selves, we just can't wait to get about the business of making the most of that gift and of our gifts. Each week, you know that we offer a quote as a part of our promotions for the Sunday service. And this week, the words were from an author, Eric Overby. And he said, "Let my life be a work of art. Let my life be a work of art." If you come to the campus next Saturday at 1 o'clock to walk as one at 1 o'clock, one with all people on this planet, affirming oneness, affirming peace throughout this world, perhaps those words could be your mantra of intention. Let my life be a work of art. Trust me, we will all look forward to seeing that art coming to life in you. God bless you.